Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Duckville here. We've got a matchup that I'm going to be casting, which is one that I've left a little bit aside for quite a lot of Heart of the Swarm. We have had a few replays from this particular matchup, but this time we are going to watch a little bit of an interesting one, which should be a little bit of fun, starting down at the bottom left-hand side as our Red Zerg player, playing for the Imp clan, iMp. It is Scolarion. And his opponent up at the top right-hand side is our Blue Zerg player, currently playing for Team Iris. It is Crimson. Now, of course, Crimson did send this one through to me. He said this is a little bit of an interesting Zerg versus Zerg match, but we'll see how it goes. It's a matchup generally that a lot of people you've sort of course heard on Team Liquid and Reddit and all these things, that Zerg versus Zerg is generally just a muter matchup, basically, where it gets to a point, there's lots of muters, there's lots of Ling run-bys and these kinds of things, and it's all very boring and very simple. Well, I am hoping, and I do believe, that this particular game actually has things a little bit differently, so we'll see how it goes here. Now, I have been playing a little bit of Zerg. If you've been, I haven't actually streamed too much of it just yet, but I am going to be streaming quite a lot of me playing around with Zerg, just to get a hold of, you know, how a little bit more of the insight of how Zerg works to help out with casting and these kinds of things, particularly for this kind of scenario where you've got a mirror matchup that I'm not. Could be completely honest, I'm not very fluent in Zerg versus Zerg and tactics and, you know, all sorts of timings and these kinds of things. So I've been playing a little bit of Zerg, and I've had a couple of people helping me out. Big thanks to Crimson and also Omerta, who have been helping me out with just various sorts of things. So shout out to them for helping me out with those sorts of things. But yeah, just coming along. Also, as I said, jump on Twitch and you can see me streaming when I'm playing a little bit of Zerg. It's quite bad at the moment, but I'm getting there slowly. So we've done Protoss, we've done Terran, and I'm now doing Zerg, and we'll find out how it's going to go. Looks like we do have a spawning pool going down first for Crimson here, just playing it safe on this relatively, it can be a little bit of a cheesy map, at least I've found it can be a little bit of a cheesy map because it is a two-player map. Of course, general sorts of situation in the opening of Zerg vs Zerg is that you will have you'll have a situation at the start where a player gets an early pull up. Of course, the 10 pulls and Banes, 10 pull Bane is actually a very common sort of thing to see every now and then. Some people will, of course, like to try earlier pulls, perhaps maybe a 9 pull eco style or something like that. And, you know, then there is, of course, the very safe method of 15 pull, 16 hatch, or anything around that sort of number. Of course, the gas now coming up for Crimson means that he is going to be able to get that Zergling speed up and running as quickly as he can. So they are just having a quick chat about being very daring on this map, but Crimson just mentioning, because I think that Scolarion actually thought that this was a just a straight 15 pull straight up, but it actually wasn't. It was a 16 just after the 15 pull. So a little bit of a difference in the styles here between these two players, and yep, there you go. Scolarion apparently is a little bit tired after an all-nighter, so that's why he didn't actually scout it out properly. But Crimson will be able to scout through. He's going to see what's going on. We'll see that there is the Zergling speed researching in the pool there, just a little bit of wiggling and jiggling at that spawning pool. Of course, Scolarion going to do the same thing himself, just poking about, trying to see what's in there. You don't really get too many drone kills or anything like this with these first few lings, but what you do get is a good look inside your opponent's base to find out what's going on. Now, Scolarion is going to pick up his drone count to around about 19, and interestingly, we're going to see a spy crawler here. I'm actually... You don't really need this this spine crawler here at this sort of stage of the game. Of course, it is you do sometimes get people who would just invest in a quick hatchery like this, and then do something which I don't know if the rest of the world calls it this, but down in the sea region it's generally called the Jerry build, where you get a hatchery down here at the natural, and what you actually do is utilize the larvae to make a whole bunch of lings. Then you hide the lings inside the main, and then you get speed up as quick as you can, and get a huge ling attack flooding across your opponent's base. So in fact, there you go, Scolarion, he cancelled it. Maybe it was just a little bit of a cautious play from him, sensing that there could have been some lings on the way, but not actually anything of the sort. An Evo Chamber finishes up, and this sort of signals to us that he is probably going to pick up +1 carapace pretty quickly there, as this is an older style of build, one that was used a little bit in Wings of Liberty. I haven't actually seen it too much myself in Heart of the Swarm, but perhaps some of you guys have. But the idea is that you get +1 carapace, as we can see here from our red Zerg, and you get +1 carapace, and then you get that rolling because that allows your Lings to survive a Baneling hit. Instead of dying to one straight hit, they will survive and they can continue on attacking. Of course, they're very low in health, but it is a little bit of a difference here. Now, it looks like Scolarion going to try and attack in. Some Banelings morphing at the bottom of the ramp. Queen block there just to keep the Lings from getting inside. And, of course, with the Spinecrawler at the bottom here and the few Banes that morphed in just in time, Crimson is going to be in a fine at fantastic shape right now. Up to 35 drones, his lair now completing. And we will probably see him look towards getting that lair up very soon. So he is quite far ahead of his opponent. As you can see, Scolarion will be taking his third base at a relatively quick time. We will probably see Crimson try and scout this out reasonably soon with his, whether it be with an Overlord or whether it be with some of those Lings. But he will need to scout that out and just check out the timing of that third, because if this gets up and Scolarion is able to drone himself up quite quickly, he will be able to continue on with some really heavy Ling harass now that he's got that +1 carapace on the way, and he may be able to hold back Crimson, because a lot of the time, Muta players, they'll get this Spire going. We'll see that extra gas now coming in, as we can see here at the 4 gases that are now up and operational. Once that Spire gets up, a lot of the times you have trouble getting a third base up and running, but with Scolarion's very quick third base, he may be able to just keep lots of Ling pressure on Crimson and be able to hold him back so that the Mutas can't do as much damage while Scolarion gets his own Mutas up. So we'll see if that's going to be what the play from Scolarion is here. And now it looks like we do have Crimson going up towards his third base with an Overlord here. Going to drop down some creep. Going to plant a Spinecrawler there. Just going to move this little guy up there. And he's going to sit up there and protect that point. Of course, a very common way to protect the third is obviously with a couple of Banelings or some Lings there as well. But as we can see, Crimson is going to take it a little bit differently. Puts a Spinecrawler up there, and a Hatchery is going to start now as well. But a little bit of an attack inside the natural base here for Crimson. He's going to have to defend this. Should be quite fine if that Baneling hit can go off. That'd be quite nice, but may need to save that because there are extra Lings now coming through. And Scolarion is sensing that he may be able to get some damage done here, but Crimson is very quick with his Lings here, gets him across to defend this position, and he should be able to stabilize for now. But the big factor here is that there's two things. One is that Crimson has his Mutas now on the way. He's also got +1 to Carapace getting started, a very standard upgrade there for the Zerg players to get after their lair has, after their Spire has finished up. And as you can see, Scolarion is going to be making a lot of Lings here. We've currently got, what is that, like 36 Lings out on the field for him. He'll probably continue that for a short while he, once he sees that those Mutas are out. And the first couple of Mutas now floating about, just trying to move into position here to deny that Overlord any more vision at the third base. We'll be able to take that down slowly but surely. But the big fight now happening just outside the natural base of Crimson, and it looks like, wow, those Banes, unfortunately a little bit mistimed there from Crimson, not able to get the denial off on those Lings, and the two Banes going to come across a little bit too slowly. Unfortunately, will this Hatchery go down? No, it won't. The Lings forced to retreat. With +1 Carapace, obviously, they survive a little bit longer, but without +1, they don't do like a huge amount of damage. So they'll survive a little bit on the ground, a little bit better than the opponent will, but he won't necessarily be able to do these kind of run-bys as efficiently as he would like to. So Crimson is now scouted out, but the third base is here and in operation for Scolarion. However, the drone count is very low. He's still sitting at a total of 41 drones at this point. So Scolarion still, he hasn't actually invested in his in his Spire at all. There is no sign of Mutas coming out of Scolarion at the present time. He's got a couple of Extractors on the way, but the big problem is that he's going to have a very hard time dealing with these Mutas from Crimson. So what he's going to do is what I mentioned before, which is like a very constant sort of run-by tactic, and Scolarion is going to try and make the most of it with these Lings now running inside the third base. They will be able to take it down. It looks like that is just going to finish up there. The Mutas, unfortunately, not quick enough. Some of the Lings will escape, and the dead bodies flying everywhere from those Lings. So Crimson does lose his third base. The beneficial side for him at the moment is it is still in a very, very large drone lead right now. He's also got the Infestation Pit researching Enduring Locusts. Well, alright, we're going to try something a little bit different here from our blue Zerg player at the top side. From Team Iris, it looks like he is going to be bringing out some special tactics here. Roach Warren also being built for Crimson. Meanwhile, back at home for Scolarion, we've got some static defense at the front. Lots of Lings still out of the map, and more are coming. But he he is starting to lose some of those overlords now due to those mutas out on the map. Looks like the Lings will try another run by towards the top side. No real defense apart from the Queen and the Spine, but these extra Lings that are here from Crimson will be able to hold back the Flood, and that third base should be safe for the time being, but there is yet another run by attack now occurring, just coming through, trying to see if he can make his way inside the natural, but does get a reasonable surround on all of those units of Crimson, and Crimson will be forced to back off, tries to bring in some Banes to help out in the situation. The Muta's also coming along, sniping off the Lings that were trying to assault those Banes, and it looks like Crimson will hold these Lings back for now, but again, this is constant usage of these Mutas, not where they want to be. At this point, you want to try and be holding back your opponent's third base, you want to try and be sniping this hatchery off, getting some of these drones that are here as well, but now with five Spore Crawlers up and running here at this base, there is no real way that the Mutas are going to be able to get too much done. So I do like this switch here from Crimson. We've got 7 Swarm Hosts on the way, and I think with air control and with the Swarm Host controlling the ground, if he can maneuver himself into a position here where he can start to push against the third base of Scolarion, then he may be able to take it down and really put himself in a wonderful position right here, because he is still in a drone lead at this point, and we'll see how much he can take that into account here, and a big Bane hit from Crimson is able to smack down some of those Lings that were trying to work their way out of the third base there, and now we'll see if these Mutas are going to come through. I don't think they're going to be able to do too much here. Of course, that bonus damage on the Spore Crawlers, of course, it does 30 damage against Biological. If you've been watching the latest patch notes, that's actually going to be increased to 45, I believe it is, so it's going to be crazy for Mutas to try and attack into Spore Crawlers, but these Lings do make their way back inside the main base, of Crimson is going to lose his Queen here, I think. Does she go down? Yes, she does. 2 Lings will remain here trying to assault this Swarm Host as it moves out of there, but the Spine will have something to say about that, and Crimson will need to get rid of that Ling pretty quickly, but the big issue is that he has now got all these Swarm Hosts out. They are going to help out with a little bit of defense. Oh, okay, that was the rally point from the Swarm Host. I was like, that Overlord is dropping green goo on the ground. What's that all about? But anyway, we do have another Ling attack running through into the third base of Scolarion. It looks like he's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Some of the Lings from Crimson are going to get inside. They don't exactly have any upgrades to help out, but it looks like with the Lings now pushing across the other side, the Mutas are not going to be able to assist in the attack of the third base. So Crimson is going to be able to take down a Queen, gets rid of a couple of the Lings that were defending there, and now we'll be able to go to town on some of these drones, and he is doing exactly that. And now we can see that Scolarion will come across, and I think the big issue here, 65 to 54 still. There we go, 62 to 65 now. Scolarion finally gets his drone count up where it probably should be, and interestingly, he has finished up a Spire. We're now gonna get some Mutas out on the field here from our red Zerg player here, and we'll see if that's gonna help him out. We do see those Swarm Hosts now starting to move into position here with the bonus creep that is spread there between Scolarion's natural and his third. We will see those Swarm Hosts make their way very quickly inside the third base, but back at home for Crimson yet again, some Lings just darting their way inside. No Spine Crawler here to defend. Normally you would see like a Spine Crawler here to really help out with the defense against this sort of position, but with the Spine Crawler not there, the Queen now gone, no drones able to help out or anything like that, the Spire of Crimson is looking like it is in a bit of trouble right now, but Scolarion also has his third base to deal with right now, so Spine Crawler at the back, going to try and do what it can to defend this base, but the Spire is now gone. The Mutas have come back to try and help out, but not quick enough, it would seem. And Crimson, well, he's forced back a little bit on his tech bar for now. We can see that he's now going towards the Glio Reconstitution for those Roaches. If he wants to get some Roaches out, may see him move into Roach Hydra, a little bit more of an old school composition. We'll see how effective it is on this map. Of course, if Crimson could perhaps get some, maybe get some creep spread between his two bases, then he may be able to utilize Roaches and Hydras to defend his various bases while he gets his tech back up into a position that we want it at. But of course, we do need to keep in mind that he has had quite a worker lead for quite a while now. It is obviously a much smaller deficit, but Crimson will have to, you know, he'll have to be on his toes right now because there are some burrowed infestors. It's not often you get to say this in Zerg versus Zerg in the current metagame, but infestors are now out. We can see that the Swarm Host is going to try and move into position here. They're going to go down the southern side of the map to see if they can siege up that third base, but Crimson now has those links inside his own third. A Baneling helps defend. The Mutas now sweeping across the map, taking out the Swarm Host. That dire scream from the Swarm Host as they fall down. We can see the Crimson is going to need to burrow those as quickly as possible, but unfortunately, with the Overseer here. Stormhost, not long for this world. They burrow in and try and get some lurkers out, out to try and help out there, but nothing is going to help out against those mutas. And now we can see yet again the run-bys of Scolarion continue. He's got some lings that are now pushed inside. Swarm, the Crimson's Infest is now coming out trying to help out with that. Some lings have made their way into the third base as well. Looks like they'll get the Queen. They won't get anything else. So these lings of Scolarion, very powerful with their +1 upgrades, and with the mutas now sweeping back across to help out with the defense, it looks like Scolarion will still hold his third base for now. So things have really gotten into a weird position in this game. We've seen all sorts of tech that you don't normally see. We've seen the Swarm Host come out. We've now got Infestors in pretty large quantities for both players. And of course, we have seen that there is a preparatory Roach tech on the way as well. And in fact, there they go. 8 Roaches now on the way. 10. It's going to beef up that Roach count as quickly as possible. And finally got some extra spines here to help out this third base. This third has been pestered the entire game. But it looks like we'll have a battle here. Some fungal growths going down. Crimson catching off quite a lot of the mutas. Gets, oh wow, a huge total of the mutas taken down there, down to 12. I believe that was around about 24 or something like that for Scolarion for a little while there, but he has been taken down quite a notch right now, and the slow walk of those infested Terrans will make their way across to the third base. I don't think that, yeah, they're not going to make it in time. Their timer is about to wear out. And as you can see, the third base will still survive for the moment. The Infestors are a little bit low on their energy at the moment. Crimson does scout out where the mutas are. If he can get a money fungal on top of that big group, then he may be able to get some sizable damage done here. But he's deciding to go in towards the third, drop off some infested Terrans, and head out of there as quickly as possible. Another run-by attempt by Scolarion, gets into the third, but doesn't get too much done. And the Infestors have now all but been, I believe there was just one left over. Yeah, just, in fact, none have been taken out by Scolarion, but the Roaches are now here, and they're going to see what they can do to this third base. If they can target down the third and get rid of that, that is a huge amount of gas that will not be coming in here for Scolarion, which really does play an important factor in this matchup. If you don't have that gas, you can be in quite a lot of trouble. Looks like one brave Infestor with very low health came along to try and assault those Roaches, threw down a fungal, and then a couple of infested Terrans as well, and the hatchery does go down. Crimson here with his +2 to attack Roaches is able to take down that third base, and the mutas now able to sweep through and see what they can do against all of this. But I think things are going to start to turn a little bit scary for our red player here. Scolarion is starting to lose a little bit of his cohesion here. Crimson with a fourth base, up at the top left-hand side, has still not been scouted out, I believe. Yeah, there's nothing on the map that has detected that, and it looks like Crimson has been able to get in and get a lot of damage done. We've now got lings just absolutely flooding their way across the map. We can see that Heart of the Swarm mentality taken in here by Crimson. They actually just worm their way inside the main base. +1 carapace helps them survive a little bit longer. Should be able to get the Queen, and should be able to get a lot of this tech here if they could target some of this down. No, looks like they are just going to go for some of those Spore Crawlers, and another Queen goes down, but the mutas come in to save the day, and looks like that attack will be cleaned up for the moment, and we'll see what the next move from Crimson is. It looks like with this dominating economic position right now, 55 workers to 28, I don't think that our red player from iMp is going to have a way to get back into this game. He does have quite a few mutas up in the air. Of course, we look at the muta count, 11 to none right now, but Hydras is starting to come out. We can see, of course, that the drone count will really help out Crimson with his defense here. All he needs to do, I think, yep, perfect, is just setting up a couple of static defenses at the front door. Needs to protect some of these Spore Crawlers against the possible mutas that might come along, and then once that's done and dusted, then he is in a great position right now. Despite all of these infestors down in the ground for Scolarion, I don't think there's enough, because basically Crimson's going to be able to remax a lot quicker. Well, I say remax, but I mean just resupply himself a lot quicker, because I don't think for the entire game any of these players have been at a max situation. But Scolarion comes across, sees to what damage he can get done, finds a couple of stray Overlords and Overseers here, gets a little bit of damage done, but the Hydras make their way across, and if we see, he's just sort of holding tight for the moment. Crimson just going to sit back. Scolarion, meanwhile, he needs to get something done here. He needs to occupy his opponent. Taking out this fourth base would be dynamite for him right now, but I don't think he's going to be able to get over there in time to stop it. We'll see. Overseer goes down. A couple of changelings on the ground also taken out. The Infestor still not really doing too much right now. I would really like to see them try and perhaps drop off some infested Terrans across the side here at the bottom of the base, maybe occupy the Hydras and the and perhaps even take out that Spore Crawler. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. He's going to try and sweep through the back here with the Mutalisk here, dropping off, getting some damage done on that Spore Crawler, but a transfuse, a couple of brilliant transfuses there, saves the day. The Mutas will be forced to back off for the moment with those approaching Infestors that Crimson has out. He's now got a very nice mixture of units, Infestors and the Hydras. Of course, these Hydras do have 2-2 on their upgrades right now, and that is certainly a nice upgrade to have when you're dealing with a primary force of basically Mutas right now. But we can see Scolarion is slowly starting to work his way back into this. He's got his economy back up to 34, but is it good enough? With his natural base now gone, devoid of minerals, the main also pretty much gone as well. We will see if Scolarion can somehow salvage this game. His Mutas finally find this base up towards the top left-hand side. Some defenses building, more Spore Crawlers. Crimson says, give me more, because we need that extra damage against these Mutalisks, but the Mutalisks just power down those buildings far too quickly here. And Infestor pops, if he can grab a quick fungal on some of these Mutas, that'd be quite nice, but the Hydras come along and say no. Spore Crawler's finishing up, and the base will stay alive for the time being, despite a couple of drone losses there. Of course, some of those Spore Crawlers went down as well, but Crimson now in the hot seat right now. He's moving across. We've got these fungals prepared from some of these Infestors up towards the top side of this battle here. The Hydra's now moving into position to attack those Mutas, and it looks like with another run-by, wow, really? A run-by inside the main base there again, but the main battle occurring down here. It looks like with a couple of fungals, Crimson is going to lose some of those Hydras there, but he has his own fungals, he has his own infested Terrans, and this looks very, very Wings of Liberty right now with infested Terrans, fungals all over the place. Both players just throwing all those units about every now and then, and Crimson burrows and gets out of dodge as quickly as he can. But Scolarion, with a GG and a well played and a smiley face, gives up the game because he's just too far behind at this point. What a crazy, very odd Zerg versus Zerg matchup between these two players. I think Crimson actually mentioned to me afterwards that he was caught out a little bit by the build that his opponent was doing, so he wasn't as prepared for dealing with this kind of the +1 carapace build at the start. But I think overall he handled it well, moved into Swarm Host, which was really cool to see. And Scolarion, unfortunately, his economy was just never in shape to keep up with Crimson there. So really interesting Zerg versus Zerg game. Hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll catch you all next time. Going on there, a la Grubby or someone like that, and it looks as if Neeb is just going to get a really nice amount of damage done there inside the main, picking off the Lings. Not necessarily economic damage in of itself, but he is able to just downsize the amount of map presence